I would like to give the floor to Soudeh Raad. They is a queer feminist, bisexual human rights defender. After years of activism in the French and Iranian queer and feminist movements, Soudeh is now the president of a French-based queer feminist NGO called Spectrum Foundation. So, Soudeh.
Thank you. I would just add that I'm also a board member of ILGA Europe, but today I am representing bisexual people of Asia. And I'm going to be very fast, I hope, because Asia is the biggest continent, as you all know, and very diverse. In fact, we have different cultures, different politic systems, different religions, and we also have Iraq, Syria, they're like under war. So the situation of human rights is already very obvious, but yet today we're going to talk about the bisexual condition. Several countries which same-sex sexual conduct is punishable by death are located actually in Asia. There's Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Iran, United Arab Emirates, and also parts of Malaysia. In fact, we do not have a very systematic sexual education, which is not biased in Asia. Children are grown up seeing a mom and a dad and children as a family, and any other kind of sexual conduct is considered to be abnormal. Of course, parents then push their children to be normal, quotation mark, of course. We recently heard about what ISIS did to presumed homosexual men, but in fact there were men engaged in some sort of sexual act with same-sex people, and we never knew if they were bisexual or even identified themselves as homosexual, but media did cover them as homosexual people being thrown off the buildings. This is the caricature, the very painful caricature of what is happening to bisexuals of Asia. If there is any research, there is not really a research so far, so we can talk about the population of bisexuals in Asian countries or in a specific Asian country. Homosexuals are covering, as an umbrella term, the bisexuals. So biphobia is even not shown in the researchers, if you're saying, and we are seeing this by invisibility also among the movements. So the movements are not even speaking out for bisexual people, and they're considering bisexuality a sort of homosexuality, occasional homosexuality. When it comes to mental and physical health, as we've seen with Luz and Yan in other parts of the world, it's not going to be any different in Asian countries, but it's going to be even worse because we do not have sufficient mental support for people, let's say. But then when it comes to LGBTI plus community, it's less, and then bisexuals are among the most vulnerable communities. I'm not going to repeat the things as I already said, so I'm going to give you this image of biphobia and bi-erasure, but the situation of many Asian countries pushes LGBTI people to flee from their countries. We have lots and lots of asylum seekers now living in Turkey, for instance. I'm talking about the Iraqi, Iranian, Afghan, and other LGBTI refugees and asylum seekers living now in Turkey, and with the situation of decision of the American state and also Canadian state, they are actually stuck in Turkey because they have no right to work, they have no health care, they have no access to any kind of care and support, but also they're waiting for some sort of freedom from this limbo they're living in. There is also the fact that LGBTI asylum seekers do suffer, let's say, from biphobia themselves. So bisexual people are seen as fake gay cases, and it kind of has created a sort of competition to get that very little available places of freedom, let's say. So there is a lot of attack among the community of asylum seekers, and we are trying to figure out how we can help them. Of course, raising awareness is a point we're working on, but it is not enough. I know that many people from states are here, so I would love to ask you specifically, when it comes to UPRs, when it comes to recommendations, please do consider bisexual community as a community and biphobia. Please do not use homosexuals or homophobia as an umbrella term, because this is different. And this is not because we are bisexuals that we're telling you we are different. As a matter of fact, biphobia has another sort of, let's say, recognition, let's say, we need to recognize it. Please do consider bisexuals and bisexuality in the recommendations. It definitely helps us to raise our voices and say, even at the Human Rights Council, people are using bisexuality and they're not covering homosexuals, like we're not covered by homosexuality, we are there. Please also advocate for our human rights. And please do avoid cultural relativism, because this is not helping us, especially the bisexual people, because many states, but also many people, in many societies, they see bisexual people as people who have a choice between being normal, so heterosexual, or abnormal, homosexual. So if we have a choice, if people see us as people who are making the wrong choices, then it comes, the culture is going to be the most harmful thing. Also, I would like everyone here, I would like to invite you to help us help those asylum seekers and people who are actually fleeing from their home with no support from their family, so that we can make at least those periods of waiting for resettlement better period, let's say, of their lives, so that they do not commit suicide, etc., etc. Also, if it comes to funds, please consider funds for bisexual researchers, because we are not covered. If there is any research, the numbers are not showing the bisexual population, their problems, and how they're feeling among the community. I would also love to bring up the fact of intersectionality. Intersectionality in bi activism and human rights of bisexual people is a very, very important key to help us to become at least less unequal compared to the other community members. We are not competing with homosexual rights or transgender rights, but please consider that transgenders and trans people can also be bisexuals, and they are gonna suffer from double, let's say triple, or even more sorts of discrimination. So helping bisexuality and bisexual rights is not only about one orientation, it is about the human rights of queer people, if we use queer as an umbrella term.